I'm Bella Rochelle, and welcome to Crash Course Psychology, where today we're going to learn about perception. What is perception? Perception is defined as a single unified awareness derived from sensory processes while stimulus is present. It is essential for interacting with your surroundings, gathering information from the stimulus around you, and changing that information from a collection of random stimuli into entire parts that enable you to function in the big wide world. Let's talk about the basics of perception. Basically, perception is your brain's way of making sense of massive amounts of sensory information being thrown at it every second. Instead of being massively overloaded by the information and collapsing into a coma, your brain uses the principles of perception to sort the information into useful chunks of information, called a gestalt. In addition to these gestalts, we also group information into 5 different groups: proximity, similarity, closure, continuity, and simplicity. These 5 different groups help our brains to make further sense of information being thrown at us, and sort it into manageable groups. Finally, we can use our perceptions to make assumptions about the stimuli around us. Have you ever gone to a movie theater and sat down in the chair there? You probably couldn't see the chair, but you know from past experiences that it will hold you up when you sit down. This process is called perceptual inference, and is defined as the ability to infer sensory stimuli from predictions that result from the brain processes built through prior experience. Perceptual inference is mostly automatic, and enables us to process events and stimuli faster than we could otherwise. Our brains are essential to developing perceptions. Most people are born with some amount of perception, but the vast majority of perceptions are learned throughout their lives. For example, most babies under 1 month old will smile at the head oval nodding at them. By the age of 5 months, they will learn to distinguish random ovals from human faces, and will need a mask or a drawing of a face in order to react the same way. Our perceptions take time and experience to develop, not just our physical sight, but our cultural perceptions as well. For example, if you've perceived all elderly women to be honest, you might not even suspect that the old lady in the next table when your wallet goes missing. This grouping of perception is called perceptual set, and is responsible for preparing what you see and what you want to see. Another concept of perception, which has been hotly debated about, is subliminal perception. This concept uses subliminal messages, or brief auditory or visual messages, that are present for a short amount of time, as to be unnoticeable. This aspect of perception, however, is unsupported by scientific evidence, and as such is very controversial in the psychological community. Finally, our third aspect of perceptions of the mind is ESP, or extrasensory perception. This is defined as an ability to gain information by means of other than ordinary senses, and is one of the most controversial topics in the psychological field. There are 4 types of ESP: clairvoyance, which is perceiving information without input from your senses; telepathy involves reading or transferring thoughts; psychokinesis, which involves moving objects through mental effort; and precognition, which is the ability to see the future, something you might see on X-Men. Though many people talk about these extraordinary phenomena, it has been very difficult to prove the existence of them scientifically, and as a result, there have been many controversies surrounding these events. Depth perception, or the ability to discern distances and three-dimensionality, develops in infancy. Psychologists have found that if they place an infant on a high table, they will most likely not crawl off the side of the table. This shows that infants seem to be able to perceive distances, but by no means should you put an infant on a table unattended. Monocular depth cues are visual cues that can be found with a single eye. There are at least half of these, including size, relative height, and interposition of an object. Interposition is the overlapping of images that causes us to view the object that we can see in its entirety as one that is closer to us. Light and shadows reveal information about the size and shape of an object. Brightly lit objects appear closer, while shadowed objects appear further away. Another distance cue is linear perspective. Linear perspective is based upon the fact that parallel lines converge when stretched into a distance. Like when you look at railroad tracks, they seem to come together. A final related cue is relative motion. When you're riding in a vehicle and you're looking at the distant mountains, things close to you appear to be moving in a direction opposite to you. However, if you look at an object that is near to you, such as a house or a tree, the mountains appear to be traveling in the same direction as you. Binocular depth cues are cues that depend on the movement of both eyes. For example, convergence is the process by which your eyes turn inward to look at nearby objects. Another example is retinal disparity. This is when your eyes each receive a slightly different image due to the different position that they occupy. Your brain is able to use both of these cues to determine an approximate distance between you and what you're looking at. Constancy is the tendency to perceive certain objects the same way after observing them in our environment, regardless of changing conditions. Despite the changing physical conditions, people are able to distinguish objects the same by process of size, shape, color, and brightness. An example of size constancy shows how we have an automatic system for determining the size of an object as being the same size, whether it is close to you or far away. For instance, a friend walking towards you does not appear to become a giant, even though the images on your retina are increasing. This is due to the fact that although the size of the image is increasing, your brain realizes the distance is decreasing and adjusts the image accordingly. This produces the perception of an approaching object that stays the same size. An illusion is a perception that misinterprets stimuli. Illusions can be useful in teaching us about how our sensations and perceptual systems work. They are created when perceptual cues are distorted so that our brains cannot correctly interpret size, space, and depth cues. To sum this all up, perception is an essential part of being human. It allows us to make assumptions about our surroundings, which helps our brain process information faster and respond quicker to new experiences and stimuli. It also helps to make sense of things like optical illusions, depth perceptions, and constancy. Most importantly, it helps us sort information into 5 different gestalts, enabling our brains to group everything we sense and perceive into much more manageable bunches of information, helping us to function in this amazing world. While some aspects of perception, such as ESP, are hotly debated among the psychological community, most could agree the science of perception is essential for learning and interacting, and is one of the most essential aspects of being human. Today, we learn about gestalts, perceptual inference, and the principles of perception. We discuss differing aspects of the fundamentals of perception and its applications in the real world. We also discussed the controversial topics of ESP and subliminal perception, and laid the grounding principles about perception. This crash course was written by Andrew Bergen, directed and filmed by Josh Thorpe, and presented by me. Thanks for watching!